Well, first of all, congratulations, sworn in and coming to us from your Frankfurt office, right?
Yes, thank you so much. It's been a week today since I've been sworn in.
Wanted to ask you, let's go back to the decision when you said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run. It was last year when I asked you that very question on our first interview, and I know you had heard it before. What happened in that time that you said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run for the legislature?
I mean, Rachel, you were actually the first person who explicitly asked me. And then from there, I had several young people, elected officials, family, even asking me if I was going to run. And at that point, I had started to consider it and still didn't know when or what time. I mean, honestly, for 2022, it was not on my plans. And when I learned that Representative Meeks retired, that I had no choice but to really think about it. I started getting phone calls, and my partner Hannah had asked me, ask yourself, does it align? And I literally went back on things that had happened really since 2016. And I was like, oh my gosh, this aligns. And so that was how I made that decision to go ahead and run.
So with your hopes of that, when you decided to run, because you're about service, we've talked about that many, many times in interviews. What was your hope and desire when you thought, I'm going to run? I'm now saying yes, because.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is to inspire other people. I mean, the legislative process or being an elected official is not what most people desire to do or what people want to do. But I do deeply believe that all of us, no matter how old we are or who we are, that we have some type of desire to be something or to do something in life. And so I think that for me, this is about inspiring people to follow those dreams and then to allow the universe to put you in those different positions. And so I look forward to seeing how I inspire young people, how I inspire Black folks, folks who are LGBTQ, for them to just know that no matter what it is or who you are, that you are able to do those things and be the person to lead in our community.
Well, and let's talk about that because you're the first openly out LGBTQ member of the state legislature. Did you know that going into it? Did it matter to you, and why?
I had no idea. I mean, I think that, my whole life, I tell people, I typically make decisions based on what God is telling me to do next. And so I never even considered it, and I think that that's a small part of who I am, but obviously it's historical. But, for me, I want to make sure that there's not any more first. I think that, it's my goal and vision to help create and build a community, a state, a society to where we don't have any more first. Like, let's open the doors for people to serve and to do things where we don't have to say that this is the first person of this type of person to do something.
I do know I did read one interview with you, though, that you said it does matter, that you want people to be able to see themselves through you, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that that's important. I think that a lot of times society tells people that they can't be something or they can't do something. And then sometimes people are afraid to step up because there hasn't been someone that looks like them or has a similar life or pathway. And so that's where it's important, that inspiration piece. But as far as me as an individual, of me getting recognized and accolades like that, to me, that's not important to me personally, but it is important to the larger community and society.
Let's talk about when you were sworn in. And I was looking at the pictures. You've got your hand on the Bible. Who was holding the Bible?
That was my mother. She was holding the Bible. I had got a phone call and was told that I could bring my own Bible. So it's a Bible that I actually got from her. And they said that I could have a legislator hold it or someone else hold it. And I just felt that it was fitting that my mother was the person who held the Bible for me.
Fitting because?
She's the one that introduced me to God. And growing up, church and spirituality was a huge piece of our life and still a huge part of my life. And, I would not be here today if it was not for her, for the things that she taught me, the hard work. She was a single mother, worked in factories. Most of our life growing up worked second shift, and she taught me what it means to serve your community, what it means to serve your family, and just what it means to live a life that you can be proud of. And so I'm very proud of the way that I was brought up. And everybody says that their mom's the best, and I would fight nail and tooth to say no, that my mother is the best mother. And so it was only fitting that she would be there to hold that.
And born in Kentucky, right? Raised in Kentucky, the whole kit and caboodle.
Yep, born in Kentucky, born in Richmond, Kentucky. Grew up there. There's a small town like in the country part of Richmond called Peytontown. That's where my mother and her siblings grew up. And I tell people that I'm at the heart, I'm a very rural country person. And I just happen to live in Louisville now.
So that moment, hand on the Bible, you're getting sworn in. This has been a whirlwind, landslide victory for you. What was that moment? I mean, was it surreal? Just describe it for me.
It definitely was surreal. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the video, but when I first walked into the floor, I kind of walked in a circle because I didn't know like where to do or where to stand. And so, it was very surreal. And then going to my seat, and after that day of being sworn in, I felt comfortable. I felt at home. Everyone here has been very friendly and nice. I've had a chance to meet different folks from both sides of the aisle. And so everybody's been really friendly, and I'm just excited and look forward to serving.
I was curious about that with the reception, and very welcoming, because when you went in, you said it was to collaborate. And when we started this conversation, before I started recording, one thing you said that I thought was interesting, you said, I'm doing more listening than talking right now. Explain your philosophy going into this, knowing that some of the things that you may battle for, and, everything is so politicized in this climate. How do you go into this, with that idea of collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the only way to move forward is to collaborate. I mean, obviously, there's a lot that I have to learn about who folks are. I'm one of 100. So there's 99 other people that I need to get to know and understand what their values are, what things that they care about. But I also just believe that if we really want to make our state better, we have to collaborate on all levels. I think that when you will talk to other elected officials, there's very seldom a piece of legislation that somebody is completely okay with every piece of it. And so I think that, that's one thing that we have to learn, is that there are some things and some policies that we're going to agree with, and there's some other parts of a piece of policy that you're not going to agree with. But what does this mean for the greater good? And so I am doing a lot of listening right now and learning from other folks. And I think that that's the only thing that I can do right now if I really want to make impact and make that long-term impact.
Any kind of legislation that you're already eyeing that you're a part of, or anything that we need to know about?
Yes, I have filed a piece of legislation, and I will be making some changes to it to create an Office of Gun Violence Prevention here at the state level. The idea of that piece of legislation is that the office here in Frankfort would collaborate and get funds and resources from the federal level to bring those resources into community and help figure out what are the best, policies and also programs to help with gun violence prevention and intervention. And then also just look at gun violence in a different type of way. I think that when we talk about gun violence, we have to talk about suicide prevention. And I also think that we have to talk about, a lot of times we just talk about the victim of gun violence. And I would also like to start talking about what gun violence does to the perpetrator's family and community. I think that that's a piece that's missing, but the trauma, the feelings of feeling like that you're responsible for it, or the shame that you have. And so I think that I just want to have a broader conversation and look at those things as from a public health standpoint. Gun violence is happening all over the state, not just in Louisville. And so I think that now is a time that we really think about what this means and how do we help shift and change the narrative, and then also make an impact across the state.
One thing that you were heavily involved in Louisville that a lot of people know you for was helping to get the no knock warrants passed. Is that something that you're still looking at statewide and that kind of thing as well? Will we see your hand in that?
Well, a Senate Bill 4 passed last year, and it didn't do a complete ban, but it did make restrictions on no knocks. I know that the AG's office had a working group on no knock warrants, and I actually haven't seen or heard anything about that. I think at this point, that's not something that I'm going to work on this session. I will, in the interim, look to see if there's some things that we've seen in any trends across the state to see if we need to come back and look at that next session. But that's not something that I'm going to be looking at this session.
Tell me about the ACLU, because you were a policy strategist, so you had to resign from that position. Was that scary because you're kind of now in uncharted territory? Like, what happens next, after this kind of thing? Was that just a leap of faith, I wonder, when you had to do that?
Well, the interesting thing is that I had made the decision to run before I knew that I was going to have to resign. So that wasn't even honestly a part of the conversation. Wasn't a part of anything that I thought about. But being comfortable and knowing that I believe that God is going to work things out. I think that honestly, when I look at how this happened, I feel like that it was ordained, not to get too spiritual on people. But that's the bedrock of who I am, and I feel like that God has really opened up the doors and is going to pave the way. And so hopefully I'll get my first check-in soon, and so I'm not digging too much into my savings. But I'm ready to get to work, and I'm confident that those pieces will work themselves out.
So with your district, House District 42, I mean, you span from what I read, Rubber Town to the Crescent Hill, East End. How did you get in touch with the constituents, and what did they tell you? Because I know you did a lot of walking from door to door. What was the overriding thing that your constituents told you that really resonated with you?
I think the biggest thing is that they were excited to see me. I think that when I talked to folks, they wanted someone who was going to be in community and listen and see somebody. And so, our team knocked about 6,000 doors in a very short period of time. And I actually myself knocked about 400 doors myself. I just felt like that it was important to get on the ground. The thing is that when you talk to people, they're going to tell their neighbor, they're going to tell their friend. And I think that for me, that was the best way to get the word out. So people to meet me. I mean, you can see people on TV, you can see them in the newspapers, but it's that one-on-one conversation that I think that really helps to build that confidence and trust. And so to me, that was important. But I think overall, people in District 42 are just ready, and they want someone who is willing to listen and someone who's willing to be in community.
One thing that we have talked about before is you're a firm believer the person in the mirror is the one who can bring about the change. Is that what you would say to people if there was something that you would want to relay? Because growing up, did you ever think you would see yourself here?
Oh, absolutely not. It's funny because when I got sworn in, a friend of mine sent me a text message and said, "Do you remember about 7 years ago, we were out at a restaurant and we were arguing about the importance of voting?" I'm not someone who was always engaged in the process. And so I do believe that change starts with us. And one thing that I've been trying to let people know is that, I've been elected. The people have chosen to send me here to represent District 42, but I can't do this work by myself. And so it's going to be important for people in the community to collaborate with each other, to organize with each other, and to do that change within their communities. And if there's a piece of legislation or policy that folks want passed, it's going to take the people. I'm just one voice, but what does that look like for people to organize, to educate each other, to engage each other, and then to mobilize each other? And I think that that's the biggest thing that I would like to see. And I hope that I'll still have some opportunity to get out in community and help teach some of that as well.
Final question. When you think of a good leader and who inspires you, what are the characteristics that you hope that you bring to the table?
I think the biggest thing is that what I see as a good leader is someone who's willing to learn, but then also someone who's willing to teach other people. This isn't just about me; it's about who else can I bring along the path with me, whether it's in the legislative process or whether it's whatever else thing people want to do, or whatever dreams and goals that people have, is to make sure that I'm elevating those voices and giving them the resources. But I think the biggest thing about a leader is someone who is willing to continuously learn. Um, I, I think that that's the biggest thing in life. One of my philosophies is you have to be a teacher and a student. And I think that when we stop teaching and we stop learning, I think that that's when we get in trouble. And so I think that that's one of the biggest things. And then also another thing about a leader is knowing when to lead and when to follow. Even when you're a leader, you have to be willing to follow. And so I think that those are some of the things that I really take in my philosophy and try to live throughout. And it's about practicing. I can't tell somebody to do something if that's not what I'm practicing in my own everyday life. And so that's what I try to do.
Well, good luck to you. You look very at home in Frankfurt already.
Thank you. Thank you. This is my office. I have some pictures up that I still need to get some things framed. So my walls in here are bare for now, but hopefully I'll get those pictures and everything up soon.
Well, best wishes to you, and thanks for your time. I know you're crazy busy right now.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all the things that you do and for giving me a platform today.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.